Hello everyone, Genghis Wolves here, and today it's time for my first StarCraft 2 video. This video is probably going to become rather long. If at any point in it you are bored or you already know what I'm talking about or whatever, please check out the description of the video. I'll put the times with a link of where specific parts of the video start. So that, if you're bored of the introduction, you can hop straight into part 2 or 3 and try and explain what it is. Otherwise, this video is really made for people who know nothing, very little, or only a bit about StarCraft 2. I want to make sure that all my World of Tanks viewers if they want, can at least grasp the idea of StarCraft. Obviously, wherever you come from, feel free to watch the video. And I'll try to explain what StarCraft 2 actually is, a bit about it, the basics of how the game works, and maybe show a couple replays from me afterwards or something. StarCraft 2, Legacy of the Void, is a third expansion of StarCraft 2. The first one came out in, I think, 2010. I'm not completely sure. StarCraft 2 Legacy of the Void, however, is a standalone. It costs €40 and probably also $40 at the moment. Prices are bound to go down since it just came out. If you buy... addition to that, what is really awesome about StarCraft 2, and which you should definitely know, is that StarCraft 2 is the biggest and probably only real-time strategy game at the moment which has an active esports scene, which is actually pretty big, with, I would say, 50 to 100 pro players around the world, and a couple, 10, 15 teams, and some really awesome regular tournaments. It's huge in Korea and it's pretty big in Europe. However, it can't quite compare in terms of cash prize or viewers with games such as League of Legends or CSGO, but it's still definitely worth calling an esports theme, and very, very awesome to watch if you're into the game. If you buy StarCraft 2, what do you get? You get campaigns. I think if you only buy Legacy of the Void, you only get one of the campaigns, but even that alone took me, as a rather good player, on hard to very hard difficulty, 1.5 days of playing literally nearly only the campaign to finish. Campaigns are really awesome, the cinematics are epic. Seriously, the cinematics of StarCraft 2 campaigns are epic. And it's really fun. You got different units and actually the multiplayer and abilities and stuff like that. So it's not just playing multiplayer against AI with some conditions you have to reach. It's really different than that, and it's really, really enjoyable. Otherwise, you get a co-op mode, which is fun if you want to play with a friend against AI, and I guess it's actually not bad at the beginning if you want to play around with some fun stuff and just get used to how the game works in its basics. You get, which is actually really awesome, Arcade, which basically is a shitload of games. There are way more than those you see here. I guess... Okay, I can't see how many there are exactly, but which are games which are made by modders, basically, people who want to use the StarCraft 2 map editor, and which are there's everything. There's what's this, Star Battle, which is really fun to play. You have a lot of you have a lot of tower defenses, but actually awesome tower defenses, way better than what you get in your online browser. Survival games, arcade games, modded versions, Marina, a lot of fun stuff. And if you are into that kind of small but still really fun games, you can spend days or even months on that alone. Otherwise, what StarCraft 2 is actually all about, though, is the multiplayer, obviously, where you can play 1v1 Archon, which means you play with a friend against two guys, but you share, you and your friend share one. It's as if you're one player, so you're both controlling the same units and you have to spread out who does what, which can be really, really fun to do. 2v2, 3v4, 3v3, 4v4, 4v4. I think there's also FFA mode and stuff like that. There are 3 races in StarCraft, more to that later. You can play ranked or unranked, the only difference being, as I guess you guessed, if it influences your ladder positioning, and obviously you can play against AI. There's some tournaments which are nothing really special. You can do custom games, obviously, to play with mods, to play with friends, and so on. And the ladder system works in the sense that you have, let me count, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 leagues, which are bronze, silver, gold, platinum, diamond, master, and then Grandmaster. Grandmaster being the 200 best players on the server, and everything else being, yeah, organized. And in every league, so let's say you're Diamond, you have divisions, which is always basically a clump of 100 players, so you can kind of figure out if you're high or top or middle in your league. As you can see, I'm at the moment middle master, I would say. I'm really proud I got master not long ago. And yeah, I'm not bad at this game, I'm not epic, but I'm pretty good. I prepared something for you, which I have to search for real quick. Where are you? Please. There we go. Watch Soda. To kind of explain you the basics of, literally basics of the game, I made a custom game with, well, two of my viewers, two of my friends, where, just to make that clear, this is not what any StarCraft game you're ever gonna play is going to look like, but which will allow me to, like, explain how the game works. Every race, Terran being... Okay, let's start with the races. You have Terrans, which are pretty much humans, you know, in a bit more, well, futuristic way, but without anything too crazy. Terrans have two types of units, infantry and vehicles. Terrans have the advantage that their workers can repair any vehicles and buildings, and basically Terrans are all about mobility and, well, not like mass produced, but like middle quality, a lot of units and a lot of mobility, and yeah, you can do a lot with your units too. Protoss are that, you know, ancient, unknown history of race, which is like really developed, but has issues with shrinking numbers, as it's so often, you know, the lore of games. Whereas Terran units and Zerg units only have life, Protoss units also have shield, which regenerates. However, Protoss units cannot regenerate or heal their life, but shields will regenerate really fast when out of combat, making them regain their life, so to say. Same goes for their buildings, by the way. The shield being the blue stuff of the life, and the green stuff being actually the life. Zerg, last but not least, are like completely bioform units with a overmind controlling them. Zerg units will slowly regenerate HP over time, with a couple exceptions which regenerate life way faster. And otherwise, Zergs are all about having a lot of bases, a lot of income, and a lot of cheap units, at least in the early and mid stages of the game. And are also very strong at changing their composition really quickly, which we'll come back to later. Now, as you see, every race has these kind of main buildings, called Nexus, Hatchery, and Command Center. We can just call them base for the moment, which is where the workers will bring, which are these guys, will bring what they collect to. You have two resources in the game, minerals and gas, I think. Yeah, there we go. There you can see. And kind of a third resource, which is supply. For minerals, all you need is a base and a worker collecting it. For gas, all you need is well, you have to build a refinery / extractor, like this kind of building on the gas, and then you can start collecting gas with your workers, and obviously you need a base next to it. If you are coming from Wings of Liberty or Heart of the Swarm, where you haven't touched StarCraft in ages, you might notice that everything is kind of going faster, which is due to the fact that you now start with 12 workers instead of 6. Just to kind of add that in case you're all surprised. Also, again, for those people who know StarCraft from long ago, bases are now mined out way faster because minerals have way less resources. Supply, last but not least, which is also available for all three races, basically is a limit of how much population you can have, population being army and workers. There is a maximum limit, which is at 200, and every race can increase their supply by either building bases, or for the Protoss pylons, for the Terran supply depots, and for the Zerg you have these flying supply depots called Overlords, which are ugly as fuck, by the way. Another additional thing, which is I guess kind of important, Terrans can build their buildings everywhere, but they need a worker to build the buildings while it's being built, obviously. Protoss can only build within the range of these pylons, which I wish I'd know how to show you right now, but anyway, each of these pylons has like a circle around it in which they can place buildings, the only exception being bases, aka nexuses, and pylons, which can be built everywhere. And Zerg can build hatcheries everywhere. Hatchery will automatically start spreading this kind of ugly brown mass, which is creep, which can also be spread by queens, which can do creep shimmers. I hope we will see that later on. Yes, Dean is going to do some of those later on. And then Zergs can build their buildings everywhere in the creep. What else? We're not actually building units for the moment, so let's talk about upgrades. For each race there are two types of building which do upgrades. These are upgrades which just simply give your infantry, for example here, armor or defense, armor or attack upgrades, which means that basically this marine, right now he does 6 damage. Once this +1, which is currently being researched, is finished, he will be doing 7 damage per shot. And same, instead of having 0 armor, he will have 1. For the Terrans, you have the E-base, and then you need an armory for everything which is vehicle and flying stuff upgrades. For the Zerg, you have evolution chambers. Zergs are divided into melee upgrades, melee attack, range attack, or missile attack, and defense. And then they get their Spire, which is actually being built right now, which allows them to get their air upgrades. And for the Protoss, you have the Forge, which do ground attack, ground armor, and ground shield upgrades. And later, no, not actually later on, where is it? He has to have a... Great. Well, he hasn't built the cybernetics core, but then they have a cybernetics core later, which allows them to get air upgrades again. Always the same idea. Otherwise, the biggest difference between the races in production is that Terrans build all the units from buildings directly, so they're literally being produced in here. Terrans can have add-ons on their building, which there are two of. One, the reactor, which allows to build the basic units, 2x2. As you can see here on the starport, those are Vikings, medevacs, and liberators. On the barracks, those are marines and reapers. And you have the tech lab, which allows to build the more complicated units, such as the marauder and the ghost on the barracks, and which also has upgrades you can research, which are not like stackable upgrades, like the attack and defense upgrades, which normally just unlock an ability. Or for example, combat shield, marines gain 10 life. Obviously you can only do that once, and stuff like that. Protoss, at the beginning, are all basic units. Actually, we're going to come back to Protoss later, because right now it's not really what I want to show. Zerg need a building to be able to produce a unit. So basically, they produce units over the hatchery. Hatchery spawn larvae, which are these tiny, tiny things down here. And these larvae can then be transformed, obviously at a cost, into units. However, to build a certain unit, you have to have the requirement. For example, for Hydras, you need the Hydralisk Den, which just got built. So as you can see, now you can make Hydras. This is the strength of the Zerg, which means that they can switch tech really easily, or switch their army if they lose their army, from full Zerging into full Hydra, for example, because all they need to instantly produce that much army is to have a Hydra Den and Larva, which you have automatically by having hatcheries. While as a Terran, if I would want to switch from mass ground into mass air, I would first have to build like 20 starports, which obviously is way more expensive than one Hydra Den. In general, to come back to that by the way, minerals are the basic resource which allows you to do basic buildings and basic units, whereas gas allows you to do more and more complicated units, which are obviously better, longer to produce, and more expensive. Well, to come back to the Protoss. Oh, here you have the cybernetics core doing the air upgrades, and also Protoss units coming out from the starport or the robotics bay, which are basically robots and flying units, also similarly as Terran units get just produced in that building. I hope I can show you that later on. However, all the gate units, which are the first units you get in the game, although some of them are pretty high tech, once this upgrade is finished, which normally you would do at the beginning of the game, these gates can transform into warp gates, and then they can warp, aka create those units pretty quickly in the proximity of any pylon anywhere on the map, which is really powerful for harassment, and also is really powerful to just defend your bases once you have a lot of them, because you see a small attack here, a small run by, well, bad example. Okay, just imagine there's a pylon over here, you know, there's a couple units coming in a run by to harass that. The workers there, you just warp, 5 units real quick and you take care of it. That is that. What else can I show over here? What else do I have to explain? Oh yeah. Terran command centers, which look like... I don't have any which are not transformed right now. Which look like flat at the beginning, can transform into either orbital commands, which you can see right here, which gain mana and have the ability to drop down mules, which are like super workers, but which can only collect minerals. They can call down extra supplies in case you ever forget to do supply depots, and they have the ability to scan, which creates a circle somewhere on the map where you can see what's going on, and you can also detect cloaked or borrowed units. Otherwise, you can also transform them into a planetary fortress, which is basically this huge fucking sexy looking tower, which does 40 damage per shot and some splash. And it's actually really nice to protect your, 4th, 5th, 6th base when you just have too much bases to be with your army everywhere at once. A planetary fortress can make sure your base doesn't die to some small harassment. Obviously, the armies you're going to see in this game, because we are actually going to do some fighting at some point just to show that off for you, are not at all representative of what you will ever have in any normal game of StarCraft 2, because we're just mixing all the units, all the upgrades and so on. It's just to give you an idea how it works in general. I'm trying to think, oh yeah, here we can, by the way, see the creep being expanded by these creep tumors. Every time creep tumors are for free, they only cost energy once by queen, and then every time you move them, maybe we can see that right now, but anyway, you just click on spawn creep tumor, you put it at the edge, there we go. Then these become inactive, so you can't do that more than once with one creep tumor, but the new ones just created can do that again, and allow you to move your creep up really far. Creep has the advantage that Zerg units, first of all, the Zerg, you see everything going on the creep. As you can see right now, this is his vision. Let's get out of that. So he sees any units walking on the creep, and Zerg units are way faster on creep than off creep, depending on the units. Right, if I go here, do I see the range of pilots? No. That is sad. Oh yeah, also, the Zergs. Oh, there we see, that's warping, okay? The gates here just produced these 2 units by, so to say, teleporting them there. Some Zerg units, such as the Ravager, the Broodlord, the Lurker, and the Baneling, which we do not see right now, get actually not created. To create a Lurker, you need a Hydra, and then you need to morph it into a Hydralisk. I'm gonna show you some of the fighting real quick, which is gonna happen like right now. We're just, gonna whomp on a bit, well, slow that down. This is kind of what action more or less looks like. Yes, my micros are utterly horrible. Liberator's so good. And yeah, that's kind of what a fight looks like. I think there's not much more for me to show right now. I just don't really know what I missed, which is actually in the basics part of the game. So we're gonna quit this replay, and we're going to have a look at an actual game replay of me, and I will try and explain what I'm doing, what my enemy's doing, and what's happening. Wait. I had one I wanted to show, but I need to find it again. I think this one. It was! So, as you can see, I'm playing as a Terran. I normally always play as a Terran. My opponent, spawning in the top right part of the map, is playing as a Protoss. I'm going to go with a pretty safe build at the beginning, which consists of getting 1 production building before I get my 2nd base. Obviously, first I need a supply depot though, because you can see when you start, you're nearly at the supply maximum already, which is why I start with that. My enemy should be doing exactly the same, as you can see here, putting down his pylon, following it up with a gas. Yeah, for the moment I'm just going to farm our earned minerals, then I will put down my first barracks just after the supply depot, and then add a gas, which will allow me to get a reactor. Let's speed it up a bit. Actually, do I want to speed it up? No, I don't think I do. You can see my enemy is moving up really early on with a scout. I'm going to do the same. Well, actually, it's not. It's normal timing. I'm going to scout myself after I finish the barracks. As you can see, the workers already rally pointed over there, which can you do using the shift key, aka the shift key choose commands up. I immediately put 3 workers in a gas. Oh yeah, also, why do you take more than one base? You know, before, even if it's not mined out yet. Once you reach the maximum, which is 3 in a gas and 16 in the command center, or on minerals, aka 2 per mineral patch, you don't actually earn more resources, which is why if you want to have more income, you could have 50 workers here instead of 14, you would hardly earn any more. It's way better to have 2 more bases working with 15 workers each than 1 base with 15. When I mean way more, I mean like 20 times better, not 2 times better. So my SV took some damage. I'm building a reactor. Reactor is going to be able, or allow me to produce a lot of marines in the early game. Marines being a really powerful unit since they only cost minerals, 50 minerals apiece, and have pretty good damage output and are able to shoot up into the air and at ground units, which is, well, really nice because, you never know what's going to happen, what the enemy is going to throw at you in the beginning of the game, and which makes them one of the most versatile units in the game. I followed up with a command center, as you can see. My enemy is doing the same on the other side of the map. Yes, I just lost an SCV to a worker. A worker to a worker. I put a bunker down here, which is to prevent me from getting pylon rushed. Although that is a bit more complicated, and I don't think I should explain that right now. Anyway, if you know what a pylon rush is, and you kind of don't know what to do against it in Terran, put a bunker down at the bottom of your ramp. As you can see, still producing marines 2x2 all the time, so this is the bonus of the reactor, that's producing 2x2. I followed up with a factory, which will allow me to get a cyclone, which is a really good defensive and offensive early game unit, although due to its lack of survivability it gets pretty bad in the end game. It's very good at defending early game aggressions. My opponent is following it up with a stalker, which is pretty odd, and a robotics. He's actually going to go for a timing attack pretty soon. You will see that in time. Not here right yet. I added a tech lab to my factory to be actually able to produce the cyclone, because right now, without the tech lab, all I could do would be Hellions, Widow Mines, and Hellbats, which are basically Hellions, just in a different mode. And I want to make a cyclone, which you can see right here, which I can now do. For the Hellbat and the Thor, addition to the tech lab, you also need an armory, which is why I can't build those right now. Yeah. If we look at the income, it's pretty even. We're on pretty even worker counts. This is completely normal difference. I guess something else I should also be talking about is this. You see this building has like this weird, colorful, wobbly, uncolored thingy around it, which you can see right here is a chrono boost. Every Protoss Nexus, similarly to the, command centers being able to call down mules and scans, has the ability for free to accelerate the production of one building. Be it, it can accelerate upgrades, unit production. I guess those are the only 2 things which really exist. So yeah, worker production, unit production, and upgrades, and allows you to kind of focus more on one unit or one unit in your composition without actually having to put down more of those units, buildings that produce those units. I've now added my starport, so I'm opening up with a 1-1-1, 1 barracks, 1 factory, 1 starport. I keep producing supply depots, of course, not get supply blocked. I'm continuously, well, nearly, producing workers. I put my tank in a defensive position. I haven't actually seen this yet, but yeah, the goal of this is your mortar does really high damage against armored, for example, the bunker. You can just see how quickly that bunker is losing HP. And also against the tank. However, he kind of mismicros it, and yeah. His idea pretty much, I guess, was to kill the bunker, then move up the ramp, use a sentry to put down some force fields to force my marines away or cut them in 2 or something like that, and then quickly break down the supply depots, maybe even go all the way, I don't know exactly. I'm using my Liberator, which is a unit which can go both into anti-ground and anti-air mode. However, it's immobile in anti-ground mode, but really powerful. You can see you have a nice red circle here. This is where the Liberator can shoot. and it does pretty huge damage in that area. And he tries attacking again, but loses his mothership core, figures it's not going to work, and just walks away, which is a pretty good decision. He managed to put some pressure onto me. I didn't know what exactly was going on. In the end, I guess I am a bit ahead because I lost way less than him, but it's still close enough to not really make a difference. And if I would have been really scared, for example, I would have added like 4 more bunkers or missile turrets up here to make sure I don't lose the game. He would have probably actually been ahead because I would have spent so much on being scared, so to say. The siege tank is another unit which has 2 modes. You have the... what's it even called? You have the tank mode, okay, and you have the siege mode. In tank mode, the unit can drive around and shoot, pretty much. In siege mode, you can't move it unless you catch it up with a medevac, but you have a way bigger range. As you can see, this is the range of a siege tank in siege mode, and you do more damage with a lower rate of fire, but in splash damage. A siege tank is pretty much comparable to artillery. Medevac, also one of the main Terran units, allows you to heal infantry at a pretty nice rate in exchange for energy, which you accumulate over time. And also you can load up to 8 marines, 1 tank in siege mode, 4 marauders, so, you know, a small squad of infantry into a medevac, and fly it around the map really fast, and do harassment to your enemy. Protoss have an equivalent for that called the Warp Prism, which additionally also enables you to warp in units, just like a pilot does, and actually has a pretty high distance of recuperation. However, the Warp Prism does not cost gas and does not heal units, which is actually a pretty big difference. Otherwise, a mortar we already talked about, very high damage against armor, pretty expensive unit but very tanky, has 300 HP, and has this ability which creates a barrier, like an additional shield for 2 seconds, which absorbs 200 damage, which is pretty huge. We have one of the base units which has been around forever, the Stalker, which kind of like walks around. You can also unlock Blink, which allows it to teleport over small distances, like more or less from here to here, which can be very useful to run away, follow an enemy, also to get up and down cliffs, so Stalker with Blink can get up from here to here, where normally you would have to walk around the ramp. And to also micro your low life units back so they don't die. Sentries are another energy unit which are able to put down force fields, which are like invisible walls which stay there for, I guess actually stays there, 11 seconds, and stops enemy units from moving through, which again is very very nice to either cut the retreat of your enemy, cut his army in 2, or to just force him to stay back a while. Like if your enemy is attacking you and you have force fields, you can just sit up here, force field the ramp until you get enough army and as such buy some time. I would like to show you some stalkers, some adepts and zealots, but as long as he doesn't have any, that could get kind of tricky, as I'm sure you will understand. So anyway, as you can see in the upgrades department, I'm currently getting my 2-2-1, so that's 2 attack and 2 defense for my infantry units, which I only have marines of right now, and 1 attack for my air units, which are the Liberators, which I don't even think I have any of right now, but I intend to get some of in the future. Medevacs don't attack, although they are already air unit. So that's that. My enemy is actually not getting any upgrades. I already researched 2 out of the 3 upgrades you can get in the tech level of the barracks, which are Stim and Combat Shield, currently researching concussive shells. Concussive shells and now allow the marauder shots to slow down your enemy. Ouch. So that's the disruptor. It basically like throws a ball. I know that's like very 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 bad explanation, but it like kind of shoots a ball, which upon the timer running out explodes and does a huge amount of damage, but has a rather long cooldown, as you can see. The first ball caught me by surprise. I know a ball is a horrible word. And actually killed 13 of my marines, but then I was able to defend it, his next attack, thanks to having a lot of tanks in siege mode and microing back and forth with my marines. So yeah, as you can see, I have a concussive shell which makes my marauders slow down enemies for a short period of time, I know, that's like 3 seconds, yeah. But it's enough to catch up and do some more damage. As you can see, I have +1 attack on my liberators. Other upgrades you get are Combat Shield, which gives you +10 health, so your Marines get from 45 to 55 health. And Stim, which is available for Marines and Marauders. And at the cost of 10, respectively 20 life, your unit for 20 seconds is 50% faster and shoots 50% faster. Which is, well, a really interesting ability, and I think it's a really nice thing. I mean, it's been around for ages. But, well, it's definitely nice to have, because I'm Terran, and shooting 50% faster is nice. But I also think it's really interesting, because you have to, like, judge around with how many medevacs do I need to actually heal my units, because, obviously, as you can imagine, if you have 26 Marines and 7 Marauders all losing 15 health on average, well, that makes quite a lot of healing, which drains your medevac's mana, and you can't do that, 20 times in a row. So you kind of have to be careful with that. You have to keep making medevacs, and so on. I'm now moving out after defending his attacks. I had no idea I'm this far ahead in the game. He is now still on Stalkers with Blink. Maybe we can see that at some point. High Templars with Storm on the way. Disruptors and a couple Immortals. I'm basically playing MMM, which means Marine Marauder Medevac, with the addition of Siege Tanks and Liberators to get splash damage and to be able to siege my enemy. Come on, Genghis, move up, you can do it. So I see his army is over there. That yellow circle you just saw was a scan, by the way. I put my Liberators into position to defend my units. I put down some mines also to defend the back of my units in case he comes from behind. And now I can pretty safely get in position and attack the space, knowing that if he tries to attack me, I have a mixture of tanks, Liberators, and mines in position to deny them. I hope I make some kind of sense in this video at some point. The people who never watched this game. Wow, there's so much to explain, I just don't know. So he's coming from behind, trying to flank my position up here. However, seeing that, or expecting that, I already turned around two of my Liberators, which were earlier sieged over here, into here, as you can see, making it obviously more tricky for him to do so. He has finished Storm. Storm with an ability on the High Templar for 75 energy, or mana, to create a, Storm, which does 80 damage to units in the radius. Now this game is going kind of weird, because I'm kind of in front of his bases, as you can see, like on his side of the map, and he's somewhere in the middle of the map, and I think he's not sure if he wants to go for a trade base, aka just attack me, and knowing he's going to lose all his bases, hoping to kill all of mine first, or if he's going to defend. I have some units over here still, which I didn't completely forget, but which I couldn't really make cross to my main army, because he was in the middle of the map. And he is actually going for base trade. So I'm just going to leave my tanks here because I'm too stupid, but I'm actually going to bring the Liberators home at least. And he's going to walk into my bases, which on one hand is really dangerous for me, because I can't produce right now. I mean, even if I were producing of these buildings, as soon as my units come out, there's already 20 units on top of them. However, on the other hand, he can't really run now. As you can see, since he's trapped between my bases and my army, there aren't a lot of positions he can run to. That is a Tyrant Storm you see right there, by the way. So now I'm slowly moving forwards. My Liberators, making sure he can't run, he can't go far. Dodging the storm as best I can, and the Liberators, Disruptor Balls, I mean. Ouch. Best I can, Kappa. But I managed to do clean up. And also, to be honest, I took pretty bad fights. I'm still ahead now because he couldn't really run out. He was kind of stuck in the middle of my buildings, which is never a nice thing. I lose my tanks on the other side of the map though, which really evened up the game quite a lot right now. So, let's go into a bit faster mode. I have finished my 3-3 as you can see, so my Marine, which initially did 6 damage, now does 9 damage. Which, if you're good at math, is quite a lot better, or 50% better. However, he's also got his +2 armor, which kind of counteracts him. These are probably some of the last fights of the game. I know that he doesn't have a lot of army except for his storms, so as long as I can manage to dodge the storms, I should be really well. He's out of storms. He doesn't really have much left. I can just move up by now. Plant my mines, dodge around a bit, kill the stalkers, and the game is basically over. Yeah, so that was pretty much it, I think, for this video. I'm going to do some more, I think at least one more video about the basics of StarCraft, where I'm gonna try to explain, like, I don't even know how to explain what I mean. Terminology, you know, different words which are used a lot in the StarCraft context and what they mean in this context, such as attacking and timing attacks and being greedy and macro game and microwing and so on and so on. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please also, I've been playing a lot around with the settings of recording, so tell me what you think of the quality of this video. That would be really important to me. I hope you enjoyed it. And please tell me in the comments if you understood something, if you enjoyed it, and what you think about all of this. Thanks for watching, everyone. Bye bye.